I want to greet everyone and welcome everyone to our full council meeting of the Council on Women and Girls. And today you're going to hear from all of our subcommittees with updates since we last convened in January. You might recall that the subcommittees did not report out in January due to several presentations that we had with various updates on concepts raised in legislative proposals to the council. So some of today's subcommittee updates are going to go back to our December meetings. We've made some incredible progress as a council in addressing issues that impact women and girls, and I'm looking forward to this opportunity to share with you all of the work that we've done. Of course, we're not the only ones that have moved the needle forward. We know that the legal system has been the bedrock for advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we are so pleased to have witnessed the confirmation of Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson on the United States Supreme Court. Justice Jackson's confirmation is historic, not just because she's the first Black woman to serve on our nation's highest court, but also the first time that the 9-member court has nearly reached gender parity, being composed of 5 men and 4 women. So we are so very grateful to see that. And I say nearly because women, of course, make up 50% of the population. So we know there's still room for improvement. And here in Connecticut, Governor Lamont and I also continue to work toward gender parity across public and private sectors. The Judiciary Committee of the state legislature voted in favor of our 22 nominations to the state Superior Court. And half of those, or 11 of the 22 nominees, were women. And we remain very positive about full legislative approval, which actually may be happening as we speak. And 9 of our nominees out of the 22 are people of color, and Cherie Phoenix Sharp, if she's going to show her face, is one of those nominees. So we're very proud of Cherie. And I also wanted to mention that we celebrated International Women's Day in March, and we announced 5 more major Connecticut employers have signed on to Paradigm for Parity. And that pledge commits companies to gender equity, both on their corporate boards and also on their corporate leadership by 2030. And moreover, I think it's important to mention that these companies are all headquartered here in the state, and they all represent STEM workforces, which is something that we are moving forward as well. So I want to say thank you to Trinity Healthcare of New England, Yale New Haven Healthcare Systems, Hartford Healthcare, Jackson Labs, and Pfizer for your commitment to creating more equitable environments where women have pathways to leadership. So we were thrilled to have these joint efforts from our private sector partners, and I'm grateful that these companies responded to our call to join Paradigm for Parity. And we're proud to continue pursuing efforts as we work on all of our 4 council subcommittees, which are economic opportunity and workforce equity, education and STEAM, health and safety, and leadership. So we have a lot to cover today, so I'm going to jump right into the agenda. But as a reminder, please let us know in the chat functions if you have any announcements that you want to make later to share with the full council. We will plan to recirculate announcements via chat and to acknowledge them provided we have time as we get to the end of our agenda. So we're going to have a report from our council leadership. And as far as the council leadership report is concerned, I'm very pleased to announce and introduce the new vice chair of the council, Department of Children and Families, Commissioner Vanessa Durantes. And since we formed the council, Commissioner Durantes has been one of the tri-chairs of health and safety, where she brought some really important perspectives and value to its work. She was instrumental in the health and safety fair of Women and Girls Day at the Capitol, and she's been engaged with some of our steering committee partners to keep the public informed about state and community resources, particularly needs that we saw during the pandemic. And I've really appreciated her subcommittee leadership, and I'm thrilled to welcome her to the role as vice chair of our council. So Commissioner Durantes, if you could say a couple words, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor. And thank you to the members of the council who have been with us from the beginning in 2019. I can remember very clearly being over at the LOB, being led by the Lieutenant Governor's unflinching advocacy to advance the intersectionality of parity, equity, and inclusion. And the Lieutenant Governor's challenge that the cabinet that she and the governor put together also have that kind of balance and makeup and the inclusion of the voice of women in state government. I also want to thank all of the public and private partnerships that have joined us since the inception of the council. You know, a lot of the work that we've been able to do has been as a result of our partnerships across all three branches, as well as public and private partnerships. And I also would like to make sure that I would be remiss if I did not say thank you to my partners in the subcommittee chairmanship, particularly Commissioner Bai. And, you know, when Commissioner Bai, myself, and the then Commissioner Miriam Delphin-Rittman were asked to lead the Health and Safety Subcommittee, we recognized at that point that, you know, this council was really about understanding the needs of women and girls across the state of Connecticut. And I couldn't have been more fortunate than to lead that subcommittee at that time with those two powerhouses in terms of commissionership. Since that time, that subcommittee has evolved in terms of its leadership. We're going to hear a little bit about some changes in subcommittee leadership as we move throughout our agenda. And I also, you know, just wrote in my notes to really remind everyone that it's fitting that one of the biggest things that we were able to do when we were all still in person was that Women and Girls Day at the Capitol, which was such a successful event. And part of the reason why that was successful is, you know, again, with Cherie's leadership behind the scenes there, that went off without a hitch. And we all are excited about, you know, hopefully being able to do something like that again in person. So I am very, very excited to be able to say yes to the vice chair appointment of this particular committee, because I truly believe in the council's mission and the work that we've been able to do. And someone should let this coronavirus know that the Lieutenant Governor is a formidable adversary, and just by virtue of her being here today just lets us know really her commitment to not only the council but to the state. So Lieutenant Governor, thank you very much for your appointment to this particular role, and I couldn't be happier to join you as we lead this council into our next phase. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And I will just say on behalf of our Health and Safety Committee, thank goodness for our vaccines and boosters, because clearly they work. I tested positive, but here I am feeling fine. So anybody out there who hasn't been boosted or vaccinated, please do get those things if you're eligible. And thank you so much, Commissioner Durantes. We are looking forward to working with you, and we are very happy to have your talented leadership on the council. So we've had another group of leadership changes at the council subcommittee level that I wanted to share with everyone. With Commissioner Durantes now vice chairing the council, we thought it was a good opportunity to add a new fresh perspective to our health and safety subcommittee. So our Office of Early Childhood Commissioner Beth Bai and Department of Health Commissioner Manisha Dupani will continue to co-chair health and safety. And they are now joined by Office of Health Strategy Executive Director Vicki Veltri. And with that change, the Office of Health Strategy isn't going to help co-chair the Economic Opportunity and Workforce Subcommittee anymore. That subcommittee will continue to have the leadership from Assistant State Controller Tara Downs and Department of Housing Deputy Commissioner Shante Hanks. In addition, DECD and the Office of Workforce Strategy have stepped up to help co-chair economic opportunity and workforce equity, particularly given how relevant the work that their agencies do is to the goals and objectives of that subcommittee. DECD is going to be represented by Deputy Commissioner Paul Robertson, and Office of Workforce Strategy will primarily be represented by Kelly Marie Valeries and Laura Baker. Also, as part of this overall restructuring, if you will, or reorganizing, given where we are, I am moving from economic opportunity and workforce equity over to co-chairing the leadership subcommittee. The Office of the State Treasurer will stay as a co-chair, and Jen Patetti will represent the Treasurer's Office. I'm also very excited to announce two other agency leaders who are going to be joining Jen Patetti and me. The State Department of Education Commissioner, Charlene Russell Tucker, and Department of Administrative Services Commissioner Michelle Gilman are going to co-chair the leadership subcommittees with me. And despite being new to their roles, they're already stepping up, but we would expect nothing less of both of them, given that during the pandemic and our administration, they've had to step up already in big ways. So we have no doubt they will be up for this task. So later today, you're going to be hearing more from each of them because they're going to be doing report outs. So that kind of covers the waterfront of what we're doing at the subcommittee level. And if you weren't taking any notes, have no fear, because our website will be updated to reflect all of those changes. So you'll be able to go to our website and see what all and who all is doing what on our subcommittees. So thank you again to all our subcommittee co-chairs. The governor and I really appreciate your leadership. And at this time, we are going to move on to our subcommittee updates, and I'm going to kick things off with economic opportunity and workforce equity. And check this out, because some of our subcommittees have had very cool presentations. We have our own little PowerPoint right here. So we see Cherie is going ahead and sharing her screen. So as I just mentioned, this subcommittee is now under the leadership of Tara Downs, as you see. So this is going to be my last time reporting out on behalf of economic opportunity and workforce equity, and I really appreciate all the work that we've done together for economic opportunity and workforce equity. So we are going to go now, I should say, with respect to economic opportunity, our financial literacy subgroup, spearheaded by the amazing Catherine Blinder from the Department of Consumer Protection and Kathleen Titsworth from the Department of Banking, surveyed state agencies about financial literacy resources and initiatives for a comprehensive understanding of state offerings. And so I'm very happy to report that the financial literacy portal has been updated to reflect over 50 national and statewide resources. Of course, timing this month is perfect as we are celebrating National Financial Literacy Month. So thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Kathleen, for all of your work. We also had a presentation from our State Department of Economic and Community Development about resources available for small businesses, including those that are women and minority owned. And Sheila Hummel and Susan Chen shared information about a single point of entry for those businesses to access financial and technical assistance, and took us through the business one-stop shop online platform. Their presentation is available on our website as attachment 1 to the February meeting. So if you have an interest and you didn't get to see that, please do take a look at their PowerPoint for more details. We're going to move on to workforce equity, and Deputy Commissioner Shante Hanks from the Department of Housing updated us on the third cohort of the Housing and Community Development Leadership Institute. We also had a presentation from Laura Baker of the Office of Workforce Strategy about Career Connect CT, which allocates funding to reskilling and upskilling our workforce. The Career Connect CT program received applications in excess of $250 million. And while that is more than what's currently available, we're hoping for a second round of funding available in August. So stay tuned and we'll have more on that. Ms. Baker's presentation about Career Connect CT is available as part of attachment 2 to the March subcommittee meeting minutes. In December, we reviewed some of the recommendations from the Controller's Office Equity Analysis. Heather Tweedale from DAS shared information about our statewide partnerships, particularly our efforts to reach diverse audiences with respect to employment opportunities in the state. And this includes connections with historically Black colleges and universities, with large populations of Latinx, Asian American, and Pacific Islander students. Her presentation can be found as an attachment to the December subcommittee minutes. We also received an update on the internship toolkit that is spearheaded by the Education and STEAM subcommittee. This has been a large collaborative project in partnership with many of our steering committee members, including Lynn Rasick from the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology, who shared the update on behalf of the full working group. You're going to hear a little more about this today from one of our Education and STEAM subcommittee chairs. Another recommendation from the Controller's Office Equity Analysis was with respect to professional development programs. Nick Herms from DAS shared about opportunities with LinkedIn Learning resources, and that the Aspiring Leaders program is in the process of being rebooted and centralized. And you're going to be hearing more about the timing of Aspiring Leaders later today in the Leadership Subcommittee report out. We also had a presentation from DCF, Deputy Commissioner Jody Hill-Lilly, who shared information about the joint DCF and OEC Executive Fellowship Development Program. It was great to see how DCF and OES, as individual agencies, invest in the future of their workforce, and we certainly encourage all agencies to think of ways that they can do the same. You can see more information about the DCF OEC program in Deputy Commissioner Hill-Lilly's presentation materials attached to the December subcommittee meeting. Again, thank you to the Controller's Office and Dr. El-Kadri for their very thoughtful recommendations. Right now, our goal as a council is to continue conversations about what we're doing and how our practices can be improved through a more equitable lens. All our council members should contribute to these efforts. So I thank you in advance for your thoughtfulness and for being proactive in bringing suggestions to Commissioner Durantes and about how the council can advance equity and inclusion in our employment efforts. Finally, our subcommittee had a few special presentations that are important to mention. In February, Vicki Veltri reported out about the proposed healthcare coverage expansion under covered CT. Since then, public hearings were held and legislative committees approved the plan, and we are waiting for federal approval, and we're looking forward to rolling out expansion for adults in July. The Consumer Protection Department noted that—
Lieutenant Governor, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Commissioner Gifford is on and wanted to follow up a little bit on covered CT as well.
Oh my goodness, yes, indeed. Please go right ahead, Commissioner Gifford. Thank you so much. We want you to expand upon that, please.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Nice to see you, and good afternoon, everyone. I did just want to provide a quick update on covered CT. As Lieutenant Governor mentioned, we did have public hearings. In addition to that, our application, which requires a waiver to the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services to obtain some funding for the program through the Medicaid program. That was heard by legislative committees and approved unanimously. So our waiver has been submitted to the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. It's under review now. We are still working, as you mentioned, for a July 1 start date. I just wanted members of the council and the public to know that when this program is implemented, it will provide another no-cost health insurance option for people in the state of Connecticut up to 175% of the federal poverty level. So that's about $45,000 for a family of four. You will be able, through Covered Connecticut, to get health insurance from a commercial plan on our Access Health Connecticut exchange, but with no out-of-pocket costs through this special waiver program that we're applying for. So we very much look forward to and thank our partners on this council and our sister agency at OHS for the continued work. We look forward to launching this. If anyone has any questions about the program, please feel free to reach out to me or to Vicki Veltri. We'd be happy to talk more about it. We want to get the word out about this program. It's going to provide a really great additional option to continue to provide affordable coverage in Connecticut. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor.
Great. And I do want to say that as of 3:15, Ms. Cherie Phoenix Sharp has been approved by the state Senate to be a judge by a virtually unanimous vote. So congratulations, Cherie. And I'm also told that Senator Looney said lovely things. So I'm gonna have to rewatch the debate so I can hear them bragging on you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. I appreciate that.
Okay, so we're gonna keep going here. One more round of applause for Cherie. Very excited. The Department of Consumer Protection noted that it would be sharing its skilled trade guides at Career Connecticut in hopes for opportunities in the trades to be more inclusive of women and people of color. And this is really important for pay equity because many of those trades give people the opportunity to be employers and to have very high paying professions and careers. So we need to be working on getting our students more focused on those. We also had 2 presentations from steering committee members. Haven shared about its co-working space and programs during our February meeting. In March, the Women's Business Development Council shared updates about the Equity Match Grant Program and their Child Care Business Support Program. They also announced their annual Women-Owned Business Day, which is coming up on April 21st, and we'll be participating in that. You can find PowerPoint materials from Haven and WBDC as attachments to the February and March subcommittee meeting minutes. So please feel free to check those out on our website. That concludes updates from economic opportunity and workforce equity. So we're going to move on to education and STEAM, which continues to be co-chaired by DMV Commissioner Bangi Magubani and Office of Higher Education Executive Director Tim Larson. So I understand Director Larson is reporting out for that subcommittee. So Director Larson, if you
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor. I'm going to ask Jonathan Richter to share the screen for us. And over the moon about Cherie's selection as a judge. I think it's just remarkable. She's such a talent. It's just going to be so awesome for us here in the state of Connecticut. So congratulations. So if I could just walk you through a couple of our PowerPoints. We have significantly upped our game, and we're in the big leagues now. So be careful with education and STEAM. Jonathan, if you could switch to our agenda. So I'll talk a little bit about our arts internship toolkit and the coding challenge and the information hub. And then I'd like the information hub, which is being presented by Jonathan Richter, to spend some time. Jonathan is a graduate student from the University of Connecticut. He's looking to get a master's in public policy. He's graduating in May. And I would encourage all of us on the line to take a hard look at this man's resume. He's a super talent, great employee of ours, and we're so grateful to have him. And we are going to terribly miss him. So keep an eye out for this young man. It's going to be great. Jonathan, if you could move to the next slide. So the internship toolkit in the arts. Next slide. The arts team is hosting a Women in Arts experience at the Boys and Girls Club in Hartford, South End, on May 26, 6 to 8, with networking from women and girls participating. Will be between 25 and 30 young women from middle school to high school. This event is exclusive to Hartford only. There'll be 1 or 2 teaching artists funded by DECD Office of the Arts and focus on its poetry and spoken word. The goal of the event is to introduce girls to the concept of a paid career in the arts, show women as leaders in the arts industry in Connecticut, have girls both experience as audience members, live performing arts, and then have them participate in live arts activities. Next, thank you. The arts team also is collaborating with Waterbury School District and their student enrichment program. This program exposes girls to technical careers. Lighting and sound is tied with the Palace Broadway series. The school year program begins in the fall of 2022. After school and on weekends, the team's working to secure funding for that event. The arts team has successfully worked with Live Girl to promote 12 paid internships across the state through funding from DECD Office of the Arts. The team is also working with the Greenwich Public Schools to host all-female jazz quartet Fiery Sisters. The Bush Holy House in Greenwich Historical Society is collaborating to provide virtual presentations about the lives of women who live in the house, 2 girls. All of these will be available with the chat and so forth. And if there are any subcommittee members on the call that would like to annotate my presentation, please feel free to dive in. Not hearing any, let's move to the internship toolkit. Toolkit is engineered in its final edit phase. The team met with UConn Director of Engagement and Director of the School of Public Policy to fine-tune the document with an eye on diversity. The toolkit will be hosted by the CoWaG website and STEAM portal. I want to thank our working teams who continue to be dedicated for their time and energy on this committee. The coding challenge. I continue to be amazed by the coding challenge and how this has grown and how it's really becoming a sort of a ironclad commitment from the people who are working on this subcommittee. So currently there have been 56 concept submissions, completed 42 prototype submissions, and have been created along with 42 development submissions. Overall, the numbers are down, but there are still 3 weeks remaining. It's important to note that we're hearing from teachers across the state that's been a very difficult year, perhaps more so than last, as they continue to try to accelerate learning that was impacted from the pandemic. The Worth Institute is conducting webinars to support the concept challenge and has agreed to review all concept challenge submissions. Coding challenge, the Jackson Labs will be reviewing all of the prototype and development challenge submissions from opportunity districts. The office hours are being held regularly to support teachers and students on an as-need basis. Infosys will be hosting the recognition event in person at their Hartford location on June 8th. And now the Information Hub, and I'll just turn this piece over to Jonathan Richter. Jonathan, if you want to take over and just elaborate a little bit on the effort that this group has put forward. I think it's a remarkable product, and just seen an incredible amount of effort in building this. Jonathan?
Sure, Tim, thank you so much. So right from the get-go, ever since I've been a part of Tim's team since September of 2021, I've been working with the Education and STEAM Subcommittee, and particularly the Information Hub working group, to make sure that this gets delivered. And this has been a passion of mine since I've gotten here. And the main focus has been to make sure that we develop a platform to communicate opportunities and increase public awareness in STEM fields and STEAM fields. And to also make sure that we promote inclusion of girls in technology fields and make sure that we tackle that middle school cliff, that drop off that we see in 7th graders or whatnot. And so I'm happy to report that the project is nearly done, and I actually have a live demo to show everyone on this call. It's just been, I want to take a moment to just say how much of a blast it has been to work under you, Tim, and also under Commissioner Magabani to make sure that this gets delivered, and to also just see the talent in Connecticut that's helping deliver on ensuring that women and girls in Connecticut have the opportunity to pursue opportunities. And I think that comes from you, Lieutenant Governor Bythwood. So I wanted to just say that this is all really incredible, and I've been extremely blessed and grateful to be a part of this opportunity. So,
Thank you.
and so I'm happy to report, this website that I'm about to present is a platform to communicate opportunities and also promotes the inclusion of girls in technology. And so my next slide, I'll go into a next website live demo of this. And then of course, feedback, questions, and comments can be sent to my email address there, jonathan.rector@ct.gov. So let me click. So this is the STEAM information portal. And right off the bat, the navigation bar, well, the chat link, I'll have it in the chat. So members of this call can view and can send feedback, and we welcome all feedback. And so there's the about, there's STEAM research for students, for parents, and for educators. And the main goal of this website is to advance women and girls in STEAM because they are the future of Connecticut. And so this website follows the new design that Connecticut is following with their digital government. And so we have
John, I'm
Yes.
sorry to interrupt it, Cherie. I think you might have to change the view of which of your screens you're sharing. We
Okay.
still see the PowerPoint with the web
no.
page on it, but we don't actually see the website.
Let's see. Thank you for that heads up, Cherie.
Sure,
Let's
sure,
see.
sure.
Can you guys see the website now?
Yes, perfect.
Great.
Thank
Okay,
you,
yeah.
John.
So, no, thank you. So this is the website now, the STEAM portal, Advancing Women and Girls in STEAM, the Future of Connecticut. I apologize for that. So top navigation bar about STEAM research for students, for parents, for educators. There's different boxes here. What is STEAM? STEAM research, grow like a girl. We wanted our working group wanted to make sure that we provided a platform for young girls and women to see opportunities within Connecticut. And so we've built in this map feature that right now it's just populating a bunch of different museums within the Hartford area, but soon this will be built out to include all different programs or whatnot. And then of course, over here, we have additional programs where this is completely modular and it'll be able to feature other information items from all across the Women and Girls Committee. And so we have the Lieutenant Governor's Computing Challenge here as an example of just how we're able to include different types of information onto this website. And so if we go to the next tab here with about Connecticut STEAM Initiative, it just has more information about how we're sort of achieving equality for women in technical careers and making sure that we just have new content here for the women and girls to view. And the next STEAM research. This is an important page in that this is a page that can of course change as the next intern comes into my position, but also it's something that people can view and see just how there's gender inequities within STEAM and STEAM occupations. And so there's gender bias and all these different things, and it also leads into engagement drop-off. And so this is, just different videos as well. And so there's a lot of different resources here that we have for people to view. And I think I'm going on a little too much, but I'll send over the links around in the chat so everyone can view. And I welcome everyone's feedback. And of course, there's different sections for students, for parents, for educators. But I welcome everyone's feedback, and I hope everyone has a good rest of the day.
All right, so does that conclude your report, Director Larson?
Yes, it did, Lieutenant Governor. Thank you very much. Jonathan, thank you very much for that presentation. And I'm sure that this will all be funneled back through the chat. And if people need some additional information, certainly feel free to reach out to our office. Again, great collaboration. We're really, really proud of the effort here. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you both. So we're going to move on to health and safety, which, as I mentioned earlier, is now tri-chaired by Commissioner Bai, Department of Health Commissioner Manisha Jutani, and Vicki Veltri, Office of Healthcare Strategy Executive Director. So Commissioner Bai, I understand that you're reporting out today.
I am on behalf of my new tri-chair, so happy to be here and glad to see you, Lieutenant Governor. Glad you're feeling well enough to be here and really happy for Cherie. What a wonderful opportunity for our state and for Cherie. I want to thank Commissioner Bartolomeo as well, because it was her email to you and to us in health and safety about some challenges with childcare that led to problems with the workforce and healthcare workforce that led to a great conversation, and Patrick Flaherty did a wonderful presentation. So I'm just going to share some of this information and some parent perspective from our last meeting, and I'll share my screen now and happy to take questions. Let's see, can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, we're all getting fancy here. Even Tim Larson had a PowerPoint today, so the pressure's on. So this is really a summary of our last meeting, which was really great. This is an issue, Madam Lieutenant Governor, that you have been concerned about the impact of COVID on the workforce, and particularly on women in the workforce. And Patrick Flaherty gave us a really good overview that basically showed that women have been slower to return to the workforce. They used to be the majority of the workforce, but there are challenges right now that have Connecticut below the national average for young women and being able to return to the workforce. And there are multiple reasons for this, but we know that childcare is particularly expensive in Connecticut because of our just a high cost of living here. Also, childcare was cited as a barrier for returning to work, as well as affordable housing and that sort of stable base needed to return to work. Folks said that age discrimination, this was particularly for women, this is the Council on Women and Girls, came up over and over again. So there were definitely gender differences in the impact of the pandemic, and our committee heard about that from the data. And then we thought it was important to hear from parents. OEC's recently launched a parent cabinet. So we heard from a few parents about the impact, but I'm just sharing one today from Christina Aguilera, talking about how difficult it was for her to maintain a job and pay for childcare, and how her family had to move to like a shift work situation in order to cover the cost of childcare. They didn't quite qualify for childcare subsidies. They had a child with a disability, so it was difficult to find a setting that was prepared to help her son. And I will tell you that that has become more difficult during COVID with young children with disabilities, because often centers just bring on an extra paraprofessional or staff person, but right now with the labor shortages, that's even worse than when Christina talked to us. But one thing that sort of came across from all these parents was, yes, it's difficult financially. Yes, it's hard to go back to work and afford childcare, but that this really had an impact on women's health and wellness and on their mental health and on their sense of self. They'd gone to school, had looked forward to a career, and it was just very difficult to balance childcare and working and their professional success. So then, as these meetings go, we had a conversation, and Commissioner Giuliani could, I'm sure, weigh in and talk about some of the challenges with the workforce in healthcare, and we invited Hartford Hospital to come talk to us. But there's also, and Commissioner Durantes knows this, there's some significant workforce shortages in the behavioral health areas, and some members of our committee, this is a quote from Alice Forster, who's just an incredible resource for our state, and advocate for families and mental health, just talks about the difficulty that they've been having recruiting behavioral health workforces, even with increasing salaries 25%. So she was saying there's some things other states have done that we should be looking at. And also, we all want a workforce that represents our state, right? And we want professionals available for people to consult with. In Connecticut, 80% of licensed clinicians are white. And if you're trying to hire a diverse workforce, but we're not doing enough to get people into the pipeline to have that diverse workforce, you've got a real problem on the other end of that pipe. And Kelly Valeris from the Office of Workforce Competitiveness was at the meeting, listening and also weighing in. So that was something else we covered. And then we also heard from Commissioner Durantes about the need for a diverse workforce, and also heard about the challenge with nurses, that there's a huge shortage of nurses, and nurses can now work as travel nurses and make twice as much. So hospitals end up not being able to recruit enough nurses and then hiring travel nurses at twice the cost. And it's just not working for the healthcare system right now. And this sort of interplay between the predominantly female workforce areas and childcare and lack of childcare and women's unemployment are sort of gathering steam. And it was really interesting for us to hear not just from our presenters, but then to hear from people who are part of our committee, which I know was your vision for this council, that it would give us a way that we're hearing from folks out there on the ground about what's happening there. And we also heard some of the challenges from the Village for Families and Children that they're having. We're really grateful that Hartford Hospital came to talk to us about the challenges that they face. And they just talk about how challenging that is, which I mentioned before, but they're trying to be a competitive employer. And at this point, the hospitals are just sort of taking from each other because there aren't enough nurses. The Office of Workforce Competitiveness talked about some initiatives that are going on now with colleges to open up that pipeline. And I'm sure that ED Larson could explain that to us as well. So just the response from the Office of Workforce Strategy just talked about how we need an approach to attracting workers where they can build those stackable credentials. Also that there are specific pathways being developed for nurses, and that in addition, through the Governor's Workforce Council, there's work going on around how to make childcare more accessible. And that council is working both with businesses, with commissioners, working on these big challenges. So it's very much a brief overview, but wanted to give you a sense of what's happening on the ground. Commissioner Giuttani, I don't know if you want to weigh in related to the public health workforce challenges that we talked about, but I was just trying to give an overview. And I don't see Vicky on, but maybe she is on and might want to weigh in, but just turn it back to my other chairs who may have something to add. And I said I'd provide an overview.
Thank you, Commissioner Bai. I don't have much to add to what you said, other than to reiterate, I think, what you highlighted, which is that in healthcare, certainly we're seeing shortages across the board, but we're feeling it most acutely in the sector of nursing. And I think that we have long-term solutions that are being proposed and more shorter-term solutions as well. And hopefully, through what we see will come out through this legislative session, we'll have some things that will be able to start moving the needle a little bit and replenishing our workforce.
Yeah, and I think this is an issue that, I see Commissioner Russell Tucker, Commissioner Bartolomeo, Commissioner Larson, like these issues travel across agencies. Commissioner Gifford, these issues of women in the workforce and a reduced workforce, and the mental health of the family trying to access the workforce in a way that also allows them to care for their children. So we thought this was a particularly relevant meeting, and we look forward to further discussions.
And I'll just add that the governor, we've had a number of large employers with the governor's workforce council and on their own come up with strategies to increase our nursing workforce. So I know that Gaylord has partnered directly with colleges and universities to start internship programs. And Hartford Healthcare just announced a partnership with Quinnipiac for its nursing students to start that pipeline. So it's great to see that our partners are doing this and doing this in conjunction with our workforce council. All right, so have we heard from anyone else? Is there anyone else besides Commissioner Giuttani that wants to comment on that? If not, we're going to move on to the leadership subcommittee. And Cherie, I know you're going to share your screen. So as I noted before, I now will be co-chairing the Leadership Subcommittee, and our new DAS Commissioner, Michelle Gilman, our State Department of Education Commissioner, Charlene Russell Tucker, and our new designee from the Office of the State Treasurer, Jen Patetti, will be part of that. And we are going to start off today with Commissioner Gilman, who's going to give an update on employee training and development. So Commissioner Gilman.
Good afternoon, Lieutenant Governor. Good to see you and glad to hear you're feeling well. And then Cherie, congratulations. My heart is full for you and for all of us across the state upon your nomination. So congratulations. We're not losing you. We're just getting you in a different role. So congrats. So just briefly, I want to update the board and obviously all of our viewers on employee training and development that our DAS team is moving forward on. In the past, DAS, along with many of our other agencies, have led something called an Aspiring Leaders Program. It's really a capstone type program, was quite robust and engaged mid-level managers and others to explore, different opportunities, participating in different initiatives, looking at different subject matter across agencies, and really problem solving on a number of levels, and being very creative in terms of looking to solve different problems in government, being collaborative across agencies, and through other practices. We are rebooting this program in full for a lot of reasons, but we expect that by next year, we will have a fully rebuilt custom program developed for the state that will be even more responsive for our needs and more robust, especially based on the hybrid climate that we're in and the new challenges that we've been facing post-pandemic and now that we're in the recovery. And so our agency is working quickly to develop content and modality around best practices for this program. And then in the fall and winter, we'll be doing some additional program planning and development. And then again, as I indicated, looking to launch this program next winter through the spring. I expect that our agency will be reaching out to others that are interested in working to develop this program out. So stay tuned, and really grateful for those agency leaders that have already come forward to help support this effort. And then LinkedIn Learning, as was mentioned earlier, continues to be an extremely robust online platform for workforce training, whether it's learning how to manage and develop better strategies for managing staff and employees, and all sorts of different modules for training in the workplace. The platform is robust, and again, at this time, we've really onboarded the platform for most of our executive agencies. I encourage all of our executive agency staff to take a look at this platform. It's really incredible, the different offerings on this program. And we're really excited to roll this out to all of our agencies to ensure that we're using it. Again, at this time with many of us being on Zoom meetings and Teams meetings and other platforms, this is a great opportunity to engage in some online training. So I want to thank both Peg Hackett and Camille Benez from our office for supporting both of these tools. And then next slide, I'll defer. I don't believe we have an OPM representative as a presenter today. So I'll give a short update on our affirmative action planning that we've also been working on collaboratively with CHRO, DAS, and OPM. And we've also had the Connecticut Data Collaborative as a participant as well. But excellent news. So beginning April 1st, we've been using new data sources for affirmative action and for planning, both in the employee sector as well as our procurement sector. And so you can see the various changes that have been made, but in particular, we're using more current data from 2014 to 2018, and that's the ACS data. And then we are also using new EEO tables based on updated census tables. And this is really going to let us use single data sources and removing the reliance on DOL's quarterly unemployment information. So again, just some opportunities to expand and use stronger data sources. And then lastly, regarding our ethnicity data, we will have the opportunity, and we do now, to record independently of race, looking at 2 or more races for categories so that we can record different data sets. And this will also help us to record results around biracial individuals, which has really been very limited in the past. So these are really good changes as we look at our affirmative action program statewide. And then another update is that the Census Bureau, CHRO, and the Connecticut Data Collaborative will be providing technical assistance to our agencies as they implement these updates, starting with a meeting on May 25th. So again, for all of our agency leaders, please stay tuned for that meeting. But again, this is really exciting to help us meet our affirmative action goals statewide and to really use more updated information and different data sets moving forward. So really grateful to all the partners that have helped us get to this point to date. And some really good outcomes, I think, are in motion for us moving forward. Thanks so much, Lieutenant Governor. I'll send it back to you.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. Next up is our subcommittee work in our leadership panel discussion series. So in December, we had a diverse panel of women leaders in the field of information technology. And my co-moderator for that was Million Women Mentors Connecticut chapter state leader, Carolyn Alessi. This was a really nice event to kick off Computer Science Education Week. Then in January, we highlighted Latinas in leadership, and our panelists represented leaders in community services, music education, collegiate level leadership, entrepreneurship, and diversity, equity, and inclusion consulting services. That was a really fabulous panel. And I co-moderated this discussion with our Department of Housing Commissioner, Sela Mascaro-Bruno. And it was really good to hear from our panelists about what it meant to them to ascend to leadership roles and the advice that they would give to other Latinas. In February, I co-moderated with Commissioner Russell Tucker a discussion entitled Preserving Our History, Preparing for Our Future, featuring Black women leaders in education throughout the state. And this discussion wound up being perfectly timed because it was just a few days after President Biden had announced his nomination of Judge, now Justice Jackson. And the experience and insight from the panelists was very inspiring. And as you can see, we had Ebony Nelson, the Dean of UConn Law School, Dr. Tracy Espy, President of Mitchell College, Cheryl Devonish, CEO of Norwalk Community College, and Rochelle Smith, Associate Dean of Diversity at the Yale School of Medicine. That was, the panelists were very impressive. And we have scheduled a Women in Leadership panel in honor of Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month on Friday, May 13th. And I'm going to be co-moderating this panel with Commissioner Jutani. And so far, we have commitments from women leaders in business, health, equity, and media, including Indra Nui, former CEO and chairman of PepsiCo, who's written on topics about women in leadership and how we can get more women leaders in the business world and beyond. So we're very excited that she's going to be one of the great participants in that program. And again, that's Friday, May 13th. I will, and I would just remind everybody, just be on the lookout for a flyer with more details about that AAPI panel. We are also looking at and planning for panels featuring women in the law and women in manufacturing. So stay tuned for future women in leadership discussions. So next up, we're going to preview some of the new work that our subcommittee is considering, which was inspired by the very impressive participation of our Connecticut students in the State Department of Education Voices for Change program. We're looking forward to keeping this energy going. So I'm happy to introduce Commissioner Russell Tucker, who's going to share more about the Voices for Change program and our thoughts as we look ahead. Commissioner Russell Tucker.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor, and great to have you here with us. And I'm so thrilled to share information. And Cherie, congratulations, really proud to say we know you and that you've been a part of this effort to get together here. So I know we're sensitive about time, but I just really am so excited to share a little bit more about Voice for Change with you. This is the country's first, I said first of its kind, statewide initiative to put more than $1 million in the hands of our students to reimagine and transform their schools. Voice for Change was announced in November by our governor and supported by our governor and lieutenant governor, and empowered students to decide how the American Rescue Plan elementary and secondary school emergency relief funding are to be spent. We received over 200 proposals designed by students outlining how they would spend $20,000 in their school. Proposals went through rigorous fiscal and legal review here at the department, and 150 of those proposals were voted on by just shy of 17,000 students across Connecticut. And last Friday, I had the pleasure with Lieutenant Governor to congratulate the 54 student Voice for Change proposals that emerged, yes, victorious on their school ballots. And I also had the privilege of announcing 5 Commissioner's Choice Awards. And we should know, and from those on the call, that at the core, Voice for Change is uplifting student voice as a critical tool to strengthen our schools and communities as we emerge from the pandemic. And the initiative is grounded in our State Board of Education 5-year plan, which pledges to prepare students to thrive in a global economy and civic life, and challenge your students to think critically and solve real world problems. I call that leadership as we think about our work here. And so throughout the process, we supported all our students. On this slide, of our winning proposals, you can see the green bar, more than 80% focused on social, emotional, and mental health needs of student and staff. And as you can see here, the programs could align with multiple priorities. Some of them even were aligning with all 5 priorities. And by the way, these 5 priorities are the 5 investment priorities that we've developed here at the agency in our state to guide the use of our federal relief funding for both school staff and for our agency. And so our students were working within the same priorities. What this data and the proposals themselves show us, again, what we all know to be true, that the students are really focused on mental and behavioral health needs, and to make sure that they're supported. And as I said on Friday, and we'll say again today, that we hear them, we hear our students, and that the entire educational ecosystem is here to support them. And I'm so thrilled as I look at Commissioner Durante's, as we know, the Children's Behavioral Health Agency, which is DCF, that we're all a strong partner in this work. And so really thrilled about that. My last slide is just to share a note on a few of the winning proposals. And the project leads were her young women of these proposals that we're sharing with you today. Again, we see a strong emphasis in social emotional well-being in these proposals, from providing feminine hygiene products, and which is no stranger to conversation in our council here, in products and bathrooms at no cost. There's mentoring programs to foster school-wide discussions around mental health. And I also wanted to highlight the vocational certification program, which is one of the Commissioner's Choice Awards, where a student is building strong connections with administrators to ensure that the program will be sustainable. It's a goal to expand career pathways in the school and working across the system in order to do that, which is great. And we're so thrilled to support that. And last but not least, family and community connections. One of the priorities has been a core work that we've led here at the agency. And great to see that this particular school is looking at a community service day and a school-wide picnic that won on their ballot locally. Not only will this strengthen the high school's connection with the local community, but it will culminate in bringing the school together to celebrate their community. So why share this information at the council? As the Lieutenant Governor said, I think that we can build on this foundation for leadership, that we can work with our students, including our young ladies that we've showcased here, as we talk about a concept of intergenerational leadership development as a part of our council's work. So I'm so thrilled and so proud of our students who are our future leaders and today's change makers. And so I'm so thrilled. And I'm just going to ask Maddie Shaker, if she would turn her camera on, is my assistant here and who's led our efforts, there she is, around Voice for Change. And this has been so great because other states are now really following our lead. And Maddie said to me, I can't believe, looking at Pennsylvania, she said, they use all our stuff that we developed here in Connecticut. So that we're really thrilled. And thank you, Maddie, for all your work. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Just really thrilled to be able to share that here.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's important to point out that I had the opportunity to visit 2 high schools, one with you, Commissioner, in Bristol and one in South Windsor. And I thought what was remarkable in both places, there were 5 groups that presented their ideas in both schools. And in both schools, 4 of the groups were all girls. And I was so impressed with the collaboration because those groups of girls had multiple members of their group, and they presented, they were very poised, they were great leaders. So I think Commissioner, you are onto something. And it was really nice to see these young women leaders talking about those areas where, you know, community engagement, social and emotional well-being, academic catch up and learning. They were really remarkable, and it was great to see them in action. So I love the Commissioner's idea that we need to be bringing more young leaders, young female leaders before the council. So thank you for that. And we're going to continue that. And so you will see in our API leadership discussion, you're going to see some young female leaders participate in that. Okay, so I think that concludes updates for our leadership subcommittee, and we're going to move on to the announcements. And so Cherie, I just took a look. I do not see any, but I'm going to go to you after we do some general committee announcements. So I'm going to start off with our upcoming council meeting schedule. The subcommittee meeting schedules are posted on our council website. So Economic Opportunity and Workforce Equity is scheduled to meet May 17th and June 14th, both at 3 p.m. Education and STEAM is scheduled to meet both May 17th and June 14th at 3 p.m. Health and Safety is scheduled to meet on May 2nd and June 6th, both at 10 a.m. And Leadership is scheduled to meet on May 18th and June 15th, both at 3 p.m. And our next full council meeting is scheduled for July 12th at 3. Cherie, I'm not seeing anything else.
No,
Any-
I think Secretary Merrill just wanted to introduce Jada Harris as her new designee to the council. I know Jada's on, I'm not sure Secretary Merrill is, but thank you, Jada, for joining us, and we will definitely look forward to your support and your participation.
Yes, Jada, welcome. And we're glad you're with us and looking forward. There you are. Hello. Nice to see
Hello,
you.
thank you so much. Very happy to be here. And Secretary Merrill had to hop off, but so excited to be her designee.
Oh, excellent. Well, nice to meet you virtually, and we're looking forward to moving toward in-person meetings. And congratulations. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Okay, so if anyone else, we're going to ask one more time if anyone else has anything. If not, if there are no further announcements, then thank you all so much for joining us. We appreciate it, and we will see you all soon. And congratulations, Cherie.
Thank you.
Let's have our cocktail, Cherie.